All right, we're starting the recording now. Again, happy Monday, everybody. It's 65 degrees out there. It's beautiful and sunny with blue skies. A wonderful day. The weekend, beautiful. I hope you got outside. Hope you enjoyed the weather. In Rochester, we don't usually get it like this, so enjoy it while it's here. Enjoy this weather while it's here. Let me start sharing my screen, and we'll get started today. So again, we're slowing things down a bit. We're slowing things down a bit now. And I'm going to teach about one example per day. And again, as I said, usually we'd go to like 3 examples with multiple questions for each one. And then that would be Monday, and then 3 examples on Monday, 3 examples on Tuesday. So you get your instruction on Mondays and Tuesdays, and then Thursdays and Fridays will be your time to practice it. I'm going to slow things down a little bit. My goal here today is do 1 example, and then do 1 example on Tuesday, and 1 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, 1 on Friday. So that's 5 examples per week, and there'll be a couple questions for each one. I initially wanted to maybe do 1 question per example, but that would that question would require lots of little steps, and I wasn't sure whether we'd be able to do that without any scaffolding, without breaking it down into several steps. So there is more than 1 question per piece example, just so we can practice the skills, but we're not going to have a lot more independent practice stuff. The idea here is to teach you something new, have you practice it like once or twice, and then give you just time to just do whatever you need to do, whether it's in this class or somewhere else. So I'm hoping to actually end class just a little bit early, given this is a math elective, and we've been really, pushing it ever since the classes went to 50 minutes. All right, so we're going to start a new unit, independent living. Oh, shoot, I don't even know what unit number this would be. This would be unit number 4? Unit number 5? I forget what unit we're on. I'll have to go look that up. This is going to be section 1, all right? Finding a place to live. This is what people by majority wanted to learn about. We have 4 learning targets for this. 1 is I can calculate the affordability of monthly rent. Therefore, you could take someone's salary. If you knew what they made in a year, you could determine what kind of apartment they could afford per month. If you knew how much they made per month, you could determine how much an apartment they could afford per month. So there's that idea. The second learning target is I can determine the relationship between square footage and monthly rent. So this is kind of like where we have 2 variables. As the apartments get bigger, they tend to be a lot more expensive. So like an itty bitty 600 square foot apartment, be kind of tight and usually fairly inexpensive and affordable. Whereas an apartment that's like 2,000 square foot, you will pay a lot of money. You'll pay a lot of money or something like that. I can determine leased signing costs, so all the different things that go into signing a lease and the kinds of costs that go into that. And I can calculate moving expenses. This is actually, I'm going to actually try this. The calculating moving expenses thing is really systems of equations practice. So, it's kind of like a real life application for systems of equations. Yeah, all right. So, vocabulary. Apartment. Apartment is this place that you rent but don't own, right? It's kind of like usually it's in a large building, and there'll be several living units in each building, and people rent there. A tenant. A tenant is someone who rents an apartment, right? The tenant is someone who borrows or rents an apartment. The landlord. The landlord is the person who owns the apartment or the building of all the apartments. That's the person you pay the rent to. A furnished apartment means it has furniture in there, couches, chairs, table, that kind of thing. Unfurnished means you got to bring your own furniture. Sometimes apartments are furnished, sometimes not. A lease is kind of like, it's a little bit more than borrowing, but it's a little bit less than owning. A lease is like a contractual agreement where you agree to, kind of take on something for a certain period of time, and then you agree to give it back after that period of time. And so it's like a long-term, at least like a long-term rental agreement. Expire means that when something expires, it goes bad. It is no longer valid. That kind of thing. Evict means to move someone out. Like if a tenant is borrowing an apartment and doesn't pay their rent, the landlord has to go through lots of legal steps and can eventually evict the tenant, and the police come and just move their stuff out and move the people out, and the landlord changes the locks. Single family home, right? That's like a home where, you can potentially put, 1 single family, like there'll be a master bedroom, a sub bedroom or 2 or more. And, it's designed for 1 family. Square footage. All right. So if you can imagine what a ruler looks like, do I have one over here? All right. I got a ruler here. Here is my ruler. It is 12 inches long. All right, so if you can imagine a square where the bottom side is 12 inches long and one of the other sides are 12 inches tall, 12 inches wide, 12 inches tall would be 1 square foot, and that 1 square foot, we can measure an entire apartment in terms of square feet, right? So like how many square foot an apartment has is determined how big it is, how much floor space it has. An application deposit, sometimes you need to pay money to even submit an application. And there's a security deposit. That's money that you pay to basically say, how do I say this? You're putting up a security to say, if I trash this apartment, you can keep this security deposit that I am putting up. Unfortunately, the landlord's interpretation of trashed tends to be fairly loosey-goosey, and they like to keep these security deposits a lot. Sometimes you'll find a landlord that'll be like, yeah, if you clean the place up and if everything looks pretty decent, they give you back your security deposit. Oftentimes, a lot of times landlords decide to keep that, no matter what. They just say, it looks dirty. Anyway, put your name where it says your name, right? And then we have the question, what is the learning targets? As always, come on up here, select those learning targets, do a little right click, do a little copy, come back down, do a little paste, and you got those learning targets in there. And then once you got that done, give you a second, we'll look at affording rent. All right, affording rent. All right, every 10 years, the U.S. Census Bureau collects data. It was just recently a census in 2020. The following chart illustrates the average amount of people paid for rent as a percentage of their incomes. So in 1950, people spent about 17.9% of their income on rent. So a little bit less than 20% of their income went towards rent. By 1960, that had kind of gone up a little bit to 19.7% of their income was going towards rent. And in 1970, it creeped up a bit more. By 1980, fully 1/4 of people's incomes were going towards rent. In the 90s, it was 26.4, and in 2000s, it was 25.5. Notice how the percentage appears to be hovering right around 25% since about 1980. Experts agree that as a rule, a prospective renter should budget about 25 to 30% of their gross income for rent. So that's generally the average advice that we tend to say, that no more than 30% of your income should go towards rent. If your apartment costs more than 30% of your monthly income, then you need a different apartment, or you need some roommates, or you need some more income. All right, you need to do one of those things needs to happen, right? You don't want to get a situation where half your money is going towards rent. That's just not a very financially sustainable situation. All right, a little warm up here. Apologize for these warm-ups. I know I was not going to give you too many problems here, but let's try this one. Warm up. If you make $16 per hour and you work 40 hours per week, and you keep to the guidance of only getting an apartment that is 30% of your gross monthly pay, then what price up for an apartment should you be looking for? Let me give you a minute to check that out. If you think you've got an answer, you can raise your hand at participants. $16 an hour, 40 hours a week, and we need to keep that. We're looking for an apartment that is no more than 30% of our gross monthly pay. What is the price for an apartment we should be looking for? So here's kind of, I didn't get any student responses. Oh, but all right. So maybe this is a little intimidating. I'm not sure. Let's just think about it. Let's just play with some numbers here. $16 per hour. All right, that's $16 per hour. That means every hour you work, you'll make $16. That's for gross pay. You'll have taxes taken out of that. So it'll be less ultimately. But working 40 hours per week, right? If you make $16 per hour and you work 40 hours per week, right? We're going to multiply 16 by 40. 16 by 40. This will give us how much do we make each week? All right, $640 per week. That's not bad. $640 per week. That's pretty decent. All right, now, but we need to figure out how much we make per month. per month because we want to find out what 30% of our gross monthly pay is. So we need to figure out how am I going to figure out how much I make per month? To do that, you'll kind of have to have this in your head that there are about 4 weeks in every month. Now, it's not exactly 4 weeks. You could calculate exactly. You could take 52. There's 52 weeks in a year, and there's 12 months in a year. So technically, you could say there are 4.33 weeks in every year, but 4 is generally a little bit easier. It's conservative estimate, we'll call it. All right, so we make 640 a week. So let's take 640. Let's multiply it by 4. All right, so that's our monthly pay now, right? That's our monthly pay. $2,560 per month. Okay, that's our monthly pay. Now we need to figure out what's 30% of that. 30%. How do I find 30% of a number? If you kind of remember, we've been doing a lot of this actually in this class. This is one of those things you guys are getting pretty good at, actually, taking percentages of numbers. Well, if we know that percent is out of 100%, right? So 30% out of 100%, we would divide it by 100 to find out. Let's try to express this as 30% of a number out of 1, right? I'm going to get rid of the 100%. So 30% expressed as a number out of 1 would be 0.3. 0.3. I can use this great percentage expressed as a decimal out of 1 and as a factor of multiplication with other numbers to find out what 30% of a number is, right? So like, what's 30% of 100, for instance? 30% of 100, well, we know it's 30%. Well, if I times 100 by 0.3, I get 30, 30%. So I can do that with any number, right? What's 30% of 200? Oops, I didn't want to do that. Well, here's 200 times 0.3. We'll find 30% of 200 should be 60, right? That makes sense because it's double what 100 is. Yeah, so we can use this 0.3 to find 30% of any number. So let me go back up. We found that our monthly pay is $2,560, right? $2,560. Great. The links are in the chat for those of you just getting in. This is our monthly. If we want to find out what 30% of our monthly payment is, we would multiply by 0.3, as that's 30% represented as a decimal out of 1. All right, 768. 768 is 30% of 2,560. So they're saying that our apartment should be no more than 30% of our income. Therefore, our apartment should be no more than $768 per month. All right, that should be if you were living on your own, no roommate, and you had made $16 an hour and you worked 40 hours a week, you should be looking for apartments that are $768 a month. And honestly, it's not easy to find apartments that are $768 a month. You can find them, but they're a little bit harder to get. Just so you know, they tend to be fairly small as well. You're looking for $768 a month. You're looking for like a studio apartment somewhere, 800 square feet or less is probably what you're looking at. All right, warm up number two. Yeah, this is gonna be a little bit hard. Okay, you make $13 an hour now. Okay, we've taken a $3 pay cut, looks like, and we still work 40 hours per week. Oh, and we have a roommate that makes $12 an hour and works 45 hours per week with overtime. Oh my gosh, I'm doing too much. And then the two of you keep to the guidance of only getting an apartment that is 30% of your gross monthly pay. The question asks, then what price for an apartment should the two of you be looking for? Let me give you a minute to try to do a calculation here, play with it, see if you can use what we just did in the first warm up to try to figure out this one. It's the overtime that might throw people in this class, because I don't know if we did a lot of overtime stuff. We should have. We did wages right in the beginning. Did we do overtime? I don't even recall. I know I did lots of overtime last year. Mr. Cranville, do you remember if we did overtime in this class?
Not that I know of. I think
Really? Okay.
we brushed over the content of understanding, but that wasn't like time and a half. So they'd
Yeah,
have to understand
no,
it'd
I
be like $8 for 5 hours.
right. I think we did do overtime, but you're right. We might not have done it very much.
Yeah.
Let me just do the initial calculations for you to get started. All right, $13 an hour. You're making $13 an hour. If you're working 40 hours a week, let's start our calculation out. $13 per hour for 40 hours would be 13 times 40. This is how much you'd make in a week if you get paid $13 an hour. $520. Now we need to convert this into a monthly. Well, this is how much you get paid per week. We need to convert this weekly pay to monthly. Well, as we talked about before, there are 4 weeks in a month. So if we take how much you make in a week, we multiply it by 4, because there are 4 weeks in a month, we'll get $2,080. That's not too bad. Probably a lot of you wouldn't mind $2,000 a month. Again, this is gross pay. This is before the taxes and everything else comes out. Let's see. Let's talk about the roommate. So you make $2,080 per month. Let's figure out what the roommate makes. The roommate makes a little bit less than you per hour. They make $12 per hour, and they work 45 hours a week. But what we're going to do is we're just going to find out what the first 40 are. Because if you'll recall, I think from back in the early first semester, first quarter, we talked about overtime. The first 40 hours you work, that's called straight time. That means you just get paid whatever your, hourly rate is. For those last 5 hours, of 45, those are going to get overtime money. So we need to figure out that is next. So let's find out what they make on their straight time. Okay, they make $480 straight time, but now $12 an hour times 5 hours of overtime, because it's 45 total. Overtime is called time and a half. So any hour that you work that's over 40 is often paid at a rate of called time and a half. And here's how we figure out what time and a half is. We say multiply it by 1.5. I multiply anything by 1, and I just get what I started out with. But if I multiply it by 1.5, I'll get whatever I started out with plus 50%. It's 100% plus 50% when I multiply by 1.5. So they make $90 with their 5 hours of overtime every week. So now we got to do 90. That's their overtime pay plus their 480. That's their straight pay. And they make $570 per week. $570 per week, which is actually a little bit more than the person making $13 an hour. All right, the person with $12 an hour in overtime is making a little bit more money than the person working $13 an hour. Okay, now we need to figure out what they make per month. And remember, there's 4 weeks in a month. 570 is how much they make in a week. Multiply by 4, and we'll find out how much they make per month. They make $2,280 per month. So now we got 2 people. One person makes $2,080 per month. We add that to the person who makes $2,280 a month, and together they both make about $4,360 per month. So together, they should be looking at an apartment that is no more than 30% of their combined income. All right, so 30% of their combined income. If I take this number, if I multiply it again by 0.3, I can find out what 30% of this number is, and I get $1,308. You can find a pretty nice apartment for $1,308 per month, a pretty nice flat. And the best thing about this situation is apartment that's like $1,300 a month. That's going to have 2 bedrooms for sure. So each person gets their own bedroom. You share a living room. You share a kitchen. You share a bathroom with somebody. But together they'll pay 30% of their combined incomes. But each person is only spending like 15% of their actual income. That's what's nice about this situation, is that the person, for instance, the person who was making $2,080, you who's making $13 an hour, you're only spending 0.15 of your income, right? So you're only paying $312 per month for this. Well, actually, no, the 2 of you would have to pay 1,308 divided by 2. Whoop. 1,308 divided by 2, because you're splitting it. So you're each only paying $654 a month. You each have a pretty nice apartment, pretty nice place. You're each spending less money. You're each spending less money than you would if you had individually. Individually, you'd be spending more like, $700 or something. So this works out pretty nicely. Oh, so I need to go back to my answer and write that down, don't I? All right. 13,008. 13,008. I'm sorry, not 13,008. 1,308. Oh my gosh. $1,308 per month. That's how much these two roommates are looking for an apartment if they're going to spend no more than 30%. Now, if they could find an apartment that was $1,200, even better, right? If they like the apartment that's $1,200, they can save even a little bit, $50 each per month on that. Okay. Where will you live? Where will you live? Okay, I'm gonna keep that on the screen so you get that. Your first experience in independent living will probably be in a rented apartment. When you rent an apartment, you are the tenant, and the owner of the apartment is the landlord. As you look for an apartment to rent, you will see that they come furnished and unfurnished. The cost of renting a furnished apartment includes the use of the landlord's furniture in that apartment. You must provide your own furniture when you rent an unfurnished apartment. Before you move into any apartment, you must sign a lease. A lease is a written agreement between the landlord and the tenant that details the amount of rent and the length of time that you will rent the apartment. The lease states that the rules and regulations must be followed by the tenant and the landlord. After a lease expires or ends, the tenant may sign a new lease for a new period of time, and that this lease may have an increase in the rent. If for any reason a tenant stops paying rent, they have defaulted on the lease, the contract, and may be evicted, thrown out from the apartment. While renting is a suitable option for many, others will find that owning a home is their goal. There are many options for home ownership. You can purchase a single family home, a multiple family home, a condominium, or a cooperative. Rather than renting an apartment, there is a possibility that you can purchase and own that apartment if it is part of a cooperative or condominium. A condominium is a form of home ownership where each unit is individually owned. The individual unit is called a condominium or condo. It's like an apartment, but you own it, right? A condominium owners own everything from the walls inward and are responsible for the maintenance of the inside of their own units. The owners are charged a maintenance fee that is used to maintain common areas such as a lobby, lawn, roof, sidewalks, and roads. A co-op or cooperative is an apartment or residence that is another form of home ownership. A cooperative is a corporation. Cooperative owners own shares in the corporation and the right to live in a unit. They are also responsible for the maintenance of the inside of their units. All right, so we're going to learn this example, example 1, and we're going to go just 4 questions beyond that, and then we are stopping, all right, for today. So again, I'm slowing things down, and we're not going to do quite as much per day, just so you guys don't stress out too much, and you guys can get some of your other work done, like those projects, if you haven't got those turned in yet. Example 1, here goes. Alex makes $61,992 per year and pays about 25% of his gross monthly income in federal and state taxes. Alex wants to find an apartment to rent. Estimate how much Alex can afford to pay for rent each month, and then determine how much money he will have after taxes and rent are paid. Okay, well, the recommended rule to budget is between 25 and 30% of the gross income to rent. A good estimate you could use is 28%. I guess we'll use 28% for some of these, or 30, I suppose. Rent is paid on a monthly basis, so we're going to find Alex's gross monthly income. All right, take the annual income. Remember, this is the 61,992 is the annual. That's how much he makes per year. All right, we're going to need to figure out what he makes monthly. So we take the annual, how much he makes per year, and divide it by 12, and we'll get $5,166 per month. Alex has a monthly gross income of $5,166. All right. So now that we know that he makes $5,166 per month, we're going to find out what 28% of his monthly income is to determine an affordable amount. So they took 58%, no, 28%, sorry. They took, clear something. All right, there we go. They took 28, right? That's a percentage out of 100. So they divided it by 100 to get 0.28. So they took 28%, converted it into a decimal out of 1, and then use it to multiply by 5,166. So 5,166 166 times 0.28 gives us $1,446.48. Alex can afford an apartment with a monthly rent of about $1,446. Alex also pays 25% of his gross monthly income in federal and state taxes. That's 5,166 times 0.25, right? That 25% get converted into a decimal out of 1. Take 5,166, multiply it by 0.25, and you get $1,291.50. That means Alex pays about $1,291 in taxes each month. All right, that's money he doesn't get to take home and spend. That goes to taxes, comes right out of his paycheck. To find the amount remaining each month, subtract the amounts for rent and taxes from Alex's income. So he gets $5,166 per month. Subtract the $1,446 for rent. Subtract the $1,292 for taxes, and he has $2,430 left over to spend on, say, food and a car and clothes and whatever else Alex wants to buy. Utilities, electricity, internet, cell phone, all that kind of stuff has to come out of this money that's remaining. Woo! All right. So we have a situation where Genesis here makes $45,850 per year and pays about 22% of her gross monthly income in federal and state taxes. She wants to find an apartment to rent, estimate how much she can afford to rent each month. And I feel like, we need a percentage number that we need to actually go with. Just so we all come up with the same answer. Normally I would say you could use any number between 25% and 30% would be reasonable. But let's use 28% for whatever reason. All right, I'll just have to remember this. We're going to use 28% as a number between 25 and 30. So go ahead, use 28% as your recommended percent spent on rent. Go ahead, do that calculation. All right, I'm re-sharing my screen, I hope. I'm re-sharing my screen. Oh, I'm going to try to share my screen again. I didn't see that little border thing I like to see. Still not getting the border. Oh, well. All right. Genesis, again, the situation is Genesis makes $45,850 per year. She pays about 22% of her gross monthly income in federal and state taxes. She wants to find an apartment to rent. How much can she afford to pay for rent each month? All right, let me take the annual. That's 45,000. Nope, that's not what I wanted. 45,850. And now I want to find out what she makes per month. I'm going to divide by 12. Take the annual and divide by 12 because there are 12 months in every year. Okay, I now see that Genesis makes $3,820.83 per month. Now I want to find what 28% of that is. And I'm sorry, that's not on your form right now. It'll be on there later. I just updated the form, but it'll have a little description say use the recommended amount of 28%. I'm going to take this number here. I'm going to multiply it by 0.28, right? That's 28% with the decimal moved over 2 places to express the percentage as a decimal out of 1. And that I can use that for multiplication. So I multiply it by 0.28, and I find out that 28% of Genesis' monthly income would be $1,069.83. $1,069.83. That would be how much Genesis could afford to pay each month in rent. $1,069.83. The next question asks, Genesis makes $45,850 per year, same amount, pays 22% of her gross monthly income in federal and state taxes. She wants to find an apartment to rent, determine how much money she will have after taxes and rent are paid. Okay, so we've already calculated how much she's going to pay for rent. That's right up here. So what we need to figure, and to answer this question, we need to find out how much she pays in taxes. Well, let's try that. There's 45,850. Dividing it by 12 again to find her monthly. That's her monthly gross income. She pays about 22% of that gross income on federal and state taxes. So I'm going to take that number, multiply it by 0.22, right? 0.22, because that's 22%. expressed as a decimal out of 1. All right, I see that the number she pays on taxes is $840.58. Okay, now how am I going to figure out how much money she has left over from after rent and taxes are paid? I need to figure out how am I going to figure out how much money she'll have left over after her rent and taxes are paid. Well, if I forget, I might go over to the problem over here and look at kind of the model here, right? We've already done that. We already divided by 12 to find the apartment money. How much we already did this part is find out how much she makes, how much she can afford for the apartment. We've already done this part, which is find out how much she pays in taxes. And the last step was take her total monthly income, subtract the apartment, subtract the taxes. So we're going to do that for Genesis here. Her total monthly income is this number right here, $3,820.83. We're going to subtract how much she pays in taxes, and then we're going to subtract again how much she pays in rent, or could pay in an apartment, and then enter. And then I have the remainder. I have what's left over, right? $1,910.42. All right, $1,910. $10.42. That's how much she'll have left over to spend on things like a phone and an internet bill and Netflix and clothes and going out to eat and a car and all those kinds of things. She's got her rent taken care of. She's got her taxes taken care of. Everything else has got to come out of this figure right here. All right. And that's basically where I'm going to stop today in terms of the instruction. So I'm going to stop the video in a second. You're going to complete the next two. This one here is Miriam. She makes $61,590 per year. She works 50 hours per week. Remember, there's some overtime in there. She works 50 weeks per year, and she works 40 hours each week. So, okay, never mind. There's no overtime. 50 weeks per year. That means she takes 2 weeks off every year. She works 40 hours per week. How much does she get paid per hour? I want you to kind of like take that yearly, convert it into a weekly using this number here, then convert that into an hourly using that number right there. All right. And then I'm going to have you work on Najaleese. She's got a gross monthly payment, gross monthly income of $3,840. She pays 24% of her gross earnings in federal and state taxes, 15% for her student loan. And then uses 15% of her gross monthly income to pay towards her credit card balance. And she wants to rent an apartment that will cost $1,800 per month. Will she be able to make the payments without charging the amounts she pays towards, or changing the amounts she pays towards her student loans and card balances? Show your calculations, explain your answer. All right, and we're also going to use that 28% recommended rental agreement number, all right, which I will adjust this form to say that. All right, and these two are worth 10 points each, 10 points each, and then like what we just worked over here, this one was 2 and that one was 2. So just kind of give you an idea. These are worth a lot more because you're doing them on your own. They hopefully will make you think. They will hopefully strain your brain a little bit. You can ask questions. We will help you out, but I do want you to give these a shot because you learn by struggling sometimes. But that's it. We're ending like, I don't know, more than 10 minutes early, just because I want you to get this stuff done, turn in those projects, and I don't want you to be too stressed. All right. That's what we got for today.